Good morning, Year 6.
Good morning.
And today's chapter is entitled Deeply Creepy. Spooky. Stella put down the receiver and tiptoed slowly out of Papa's study, back along the corridor. With great caution, she approached the kitchen. Dinner plates, cups, saucers and bowls were all flying out of cupboards and smashing on the floor. The kitchen was becoming almost knee-deep in broken crockery. Wagner zoomed around the kitchen chaotically, this way and that, trying to peck at the ghost with his razor-sharp bill. As Stella walked in, Sut was fighting the bird off with their gravy boat before that went to hurling into the floor, exploding into 100 pieces. To the little girl's surprise, Aunt Alberta was nowhere to be seen. Stella panicked. Perhaps the woman had rushed down to the cellar to check on her. So, without being seen by Wagner, Stella tiptoed through the broken crockery and over to the coal chute. Just as she had climbed inside, her eyes peeped out at the top and Aunt Alberta burst into the room. The woman looked utterly confused as to what was going on. "Wagner!" she shouted. "The crockery! What are you doing to the crockery, you bad bird?" It was clear to Stella that Sut was right. Grown-ups couldn't see ghosts. Rather deliciously, Alberta was blaming her pet owl for all the damage. That way, the way down this coal chute was harder than the way up. Without Sut's ghostly light to guide her, it was a terrifying journey downwards into total darkness. At any moment, Stella thought she might fall. Eventually, her bare feet touched the cold stone floor. Just as they did so, Stella could hear loud footsteps running down the stairs. It was her aunt, coming to check on her. As quickly as she could, Stella lay down on her cellar floor and closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep. She heard the jangling of keys. Then the great steel door was unlocked and slowly creaked open. The girl shut her eyes and even attempted a little light snoring to sell the idea that she'd been asleep for hours. There's Aunt Alberta coming down the stairs. It was a deeply creepy feeling, sensing her aunt moving around her in the cellar. For a moment, all was still, and Stella could smell the damp leather of Alberta's boots. She couldn't resist opening one eye, tiny bit. Out of the slit of her eye, she spied a huge black boot staring back at her. It couldn't be any closer to her face. As quickly as she could, she shut her eye again. Stella was sure she had given the game away. She could sense the slight flicker of warmth from a candle as it was brought down to her face. All the same, she kept deadly still, and soon she heard the aunt's footsteps moving back to the cellar door. Even now, Stella waited until she heard the door being locked and the footsteps going back up the stairs. Then she opened her eyes again. The girl breathed a huge sigh of relief. She had convinced her aunt that she had been asleep all along. Stella sat up on the cold stone floor. It was a world away from her comfy old four-poster bed upstairs. Then she heard a scratching sound coming from the coal chute. Next, a light glowed dimly in the cellar before it became brighter and brighter. It was Sut. Never did Stella think she could be so happy to see a ghost. "So, me lady, did you make your call on the old dog and bone?" he asked. "The what?" "The telephone." "Oh, yes. She was still new at his Cockney rhyming slang malarkey. "Yes, I called the police and they are sending their best detective from Scotland Yard first thing in the morning." "That's tops," replied Suts. "Well, me lady, you try and get some sleep. You need to be ready to tell that copper everything in the morning." "Oh, you're right. Now, I'll climb up for all the chimneys in the house and I'll wait out on the roof as lookout." "Oh, thank you, Sut." "My pleasure, me lady. I'll come straight down and wake you as soon as I see him coming." "Oh, thank you, Sut," she said again softly. "I don't know what I would do without you." The ghost doffed his cap. At your service, my lady. Good night. Good night, Stella said, pausing for a moment before admitting, scared. Soot smiled supportively and rested his head reassuringly on her shoulder. Try and feel safe knowing I'm here, he said. Because Soot was a ghost, Stella couldn't feel anything when he touched her except in her heart. I will, she replied. Now try and sleep, my lady. I'll be on the roof if you need me. And with that, the ghost disappeared up the chute and the cellar was once again plunged into darkness. Soot expertly made his way up through the house. First, he scrambled up the coal chute. Then, from the kitchen, he made his way to the drawing room with its huge fireplace. That chimney took him up to the first floor. It was as if the house was some giant snakes and ladders board. After a while, he made his way to the very top of the house. Once there, he squeezed himself out of the chimney pot and onto the roof, which was covered with a thick layer of snow. Soot was determined to spot the policeman before the girl's wicked auntie did. There he sat, alone, as the blizzard swirled around him. Soot looked out across the deserted countryside, waiting and waiting for a light in the distance. And there he is, waiting. And the next chapter's called Absolutely Crackers. Goodbye.
Bye.